Hey guys, welcome back to RetroActive, the only place where our childhood could beat up your childhood.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Beat the crap out of it, man.
Beat it up real good.
I mean, unless they're like the same age as us, in which case their childhood's probably very similar to ours, but anyway.
Well, okay, you want to get into that right now?
No, let's
well,
get...
in that case.
Anyway, welcome back to RetroActive. Once again, I am Will. And that's Joey, who's deciding not to take the cue. I was pointing at him too, I think. But yeah, welcome back to episode 11 here.
Welcome back.
And what are we talking about today, Joey? On this week's episode?
We're gonna be talking about some old stuff.
Old stuff.
Once again. Gonna be going all the way back to some Charles Dickens like things.
Yes. So today's topic, literature. No, it's not really about that. We decided this week to go back to talking about, something
really? No Moby Dick?
No.
The White Whale?
Oh.
God damn it. You're the one who...
Was that Charles Dickens? I think that was Herman Melville, actually.
Okay, you're right.
God damn. That's why I didn't understand what you were the hell
I was trying...
about.
Okay, I thought I schooled you on that.
Hey,
of course.
I minored in literature, buddy. All right? It served me absolutely zero
purpose.
Okay,
I will stop
life.
talking. You can go ahead.
But anyway, so the joke that Joey was trying to make about Moby Dick and the White Whale is today we're going to be talking about our quote-unquote white whales of gaming. So we're talking about video games, not literature.
Games. And basically, when I brought this topic up, what I thought when I thought about white whales, it's in literature, in Herman Melville's novel.
There you go.
The white whale is the one that kind of like, did it get away? Or it was like the one he wanted to get the most.
Yeah.
Okay, I will stop talking.
You could argue that it's a metaphor for obsession. It was the captain's obsession.
Ahab.
Captain Ahab's obsession with the white whale. That's the whole thing. Is it could be a metaphor for any kind of obsession.
It is a metaphor.
Yeah. But anyway, I didn't actually read Moby Dick, but
God damn it. Okay.
Anyway.
This is just going all downhill right now. Okay. But our white whales are basically games that we as kids either did not get to play, but we always heard about it.
Right.
Games that we played but never actually beat.
Yep.
And they kind of just vanished from our lives since then.
Yeah, for whatever reason.
Or maybe even just games that, we weren't able to play for whatever reason. Just games that had that, distant appeal to us.
Yeah, something that sticks in our mind that also still we might want to get around to eventually play. We'll get to that eventually. And
or like
years later.
Someday I'll buy a copy and find, but we never got around to them.
Right. I mean, I'm sure between you and me, we could mention probably quite a few games, like 100 games in between the two of us. But I think we're gonna stick with a smaller amount for this episode.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 3.
Yeah, we'll stick with 3 each. So we're gonna just be going back and forth on that. So Joey, why don't you start us off? Actually.
Rise now, ye white whale. Show us your crooked jaw.
The devil of the deep, the white whale, Moby Dick.
Okay, so my history with these kinds of games, white whales, they go all the way back to the times when I used to read Nintendo Power a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And I was subscribed to that since I was like, I don't know, maybe 10 or so.
Oh, okay. So
I had subscription maybe for like another 10 years or until they actually went out of publication.
Damn. That was a long time.
That was a very long time.
Yeah.
And throughout all my time reading it, there would be so many games that I would just, go through just because, it's a magazine. It's meant to be read, and like if I skip something, I feel like I'm not getting the most out of my information.
Yeah.
So a lot of the games that they feature in there were just bad, I guess. they would have everything in Nintendo Power, and they would have strategy guides, cheats, and reviews for everything that came out. It didn't matter if it was good or bad; they still supported it no matter what.
Yeah, And I mean, because it was a magazine solely based on what was coming out for Nintendo systems, it's like they had a much more limited focus than an all-around gaming magazine than say EGM did, where they had to review everything in the same amount.
Yeah,
of
a lot of
pages.
those games, they weren't really that great of quality.
Yeah,
something like Iggy's Wrecking Balls or something.
You didn't like Iggy's Wrecking Balls?
I never played it.
It's
not on this list, but I never played it. And a lot of them I really wasn't that interested in because they weren't part of like the quote unquote premier franchises,
right?
The Nintendo first and second party games. But I mean, I really liked reading about them, just because there was nothing else to do at the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I figured like you got a lot out of those magazines because you get them once a month.
Yeah,
so
it's like I'm part of a secret club.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right.
I had a friend who used to bring those to school like every day. He'd have a backpack full of, instead of school books, he'd have a backpack full of like Nintendo Power magazines. So that's how I mainly started reading it. But anyway, go on. What's the game that you're leading up to?
Number 1 is Mischief Makers.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
This game is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
It's kind of a side-scrolling
it's like
platformer type
it's a
game.
side-scroller shooter. It was made by Treasure.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know Treasure, they make some of like the best shooting games in the world.
Yeah. Wait, what else did they make? Are they the ones that made Gunstar Heroes for Sega, or is that another developer?
They make some of the best games in the world, shooting games. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't remember.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if you were like, if that's supposed to be a cue to me. Am I supposed to remember that?
Do they make Sin and Punishment? Possibly. I'm terrible. But anyway, that is my first white whale, and my history goes back with this. Maybe I don't even know. Maybe even before I actually owned a console.
Mm-hmm.
Before.
Oh wow.
I got the SNES, which was like 1998 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I'd ever seen it in action, it was really, really cool.
Yeah.
Because I guess
it's a super pretty game. It's very colorful.
Yeah, like let's see, where were we at? I think we were at the mall, and the game was on display at one of these little kiosks that they have, like in the middle of the aisles, where they would just they would get people to go and buy games, or I don't even know what else they had. They didn't have cell phones, right?
Yeah, no. Like back in the days, that was what they had out there is like, oh yeah, they had like the game kiosks and everything. So
they might have like all these
stuff.
Imported games, stuff that they just wanted to show off.
Right.
And that's one of the games that was on the screen.
Okay.
I remember looking at it from maybe about like 25 feet away and just looking at just how fast it's going across, because that game was like intense.
Yeah. I remember seeing a lot of like videos of that game too. I was also subscribed to Nintendo Power at the time, and they would occasionally send you like these VHS tapes.
Yeah, I still have some of them.
Yeah, they would send you. I remember they did that for like Diddy Kong Racing and Star Fox and everything. And occasionally, sometimes they would show previews of like other games that were coming out for the system. And I always remember Mischief Makers being one of those games that was featured. And I just remember thinking like, this game looks really super awesome. It's a really fast-paced sort of like side-scroll like shooter platformer kind of hybrid. They had all these really cool-looking boss battles and everything. And I guess the mechanics were a little bit different, where you're grabbing enemies and sort of like shaking them or something.
Not sure.
Like that. I think something like that.
Like this game is something that today I still have never played.
Yeah,
but it's stuck in the back of my head for 20 plus years. And when like the day I saw it, it was like the most awesome thing I'd ever seen. And then I never saw it again until, I think I might have. So when I saw a review for it in a magazine, like later on, something might have clicked. But it was kind of like that moment right there was like the white whale sighting for me.
Even all these years later, though, it's like, I mean, would you still play that if you were to get a copy of it?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I would just pirate it. Oops.
or
I'll just watch it.
On eBay.
Yeah. I was going to say watch it on YouTube, but.
No. The whole idea about all this, too, is it's like, this should be stuff that you would still want to play also, Like someday you'll get a copy of it. Someday you'll be able to play it, and then probably realize it's not as great as you remember. No. It probably actually is a really fun game. I've heard it's actually pretty good.
That's what I keep hearing it, but I mean, until I actually get a copy of it and play it for myself, at least I feel better knowing what it was that I saw.
Yeah.
Because I think it bugged me for so long. I could never, like, I didn't know the name. I didn't even know what system it was for at the time. I just saw it on the screen from far away.
Okay, so you didn't even know what this game was then.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes more sense then too. Yeah. Well, all right. Mischief Makers.
The end.
Thanks for listening. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. So we have our second one. Actually, our second one total. First one for you,
episode.
Will.
I was going to say, like, oh, you're just going to keep going. Okay, fine. But, okay, the first one for me, so when I was thinking about, like, white whales of gaming and, like, the first thing that struck me is games that I've always wanted to play. That I've just, for whatever reason, never gotten around to.
But you at least know of it.
Yeah, I know of it, and I know all about it.
Yeah, you already have a leg up on me.
Yeah, I know all about it. And the first for me it's actually going to be the whole series because I've seriously like never played any of these games almost. And it would be Metroid actually. Metroid for like for the Nintendo systems, like mainly the NES Metroid and the Super Nintendo Super Metroid. But I mean, it's funny because it has all these elements that you would think that I would love. You know, it's a like an exploration platformer, you know, that has all these great sci-fi elements, you know, and it's, you know, the Metroid Prime games were like really great, like atmospheric first-person shooter games, and yet I've just never, I have never finished a single Metroid game, and to that point, I have only ever played one.
Which one?
Metroid Prime for the GameCube. And the reason being for that is because, like, the only reason I played it too was because I actually back in college I was gifted a GameCube. I wasn't planning on ever getting like another Nintendo system after the N64, and I wound up getting a GameCube for my birthday one year, and it came with Metroid Prime. So I was like, okay, cool, like a brand new system. I haven't played like anything on the GameCube yet, so let's try this out. And I actually got super, super into it, too. It was a really engrossing game, you know, and with really well-done mechanics, really good graphics for the GameCube and at the time. And, you know, I never actually wound up finishing it. You know, I got to the part in the game a couple hours in where you first actually see what a Metroid is. You see the enemies, and it's super scary, actually. They are freaky as hell.
I have the game, too. Mm-hmm. I don't think I even got there.
Yeah. When you get there, it's super creepy, and I think that's about as far as I got before I just stopped playing it completely. You know,
like not for any reason in particular.
Yeah.
Just kind of like you stop and then you start doing other things.
Exactly.
And it never captivated you enough to stick in your mind like later on.
Exactly. I just got, you know, because at the time too, I got sucked into collecting all these other games. Like, oh, I'm gonna go get like Animal Crossing and Pikmin and Wind Waker and all these other really good games, you know, that are just as good, if not better, games on the system. And, you know, I just got carried off in another direction. And honestly, I feel like that's how it is with the entire franchise. Like, I remember back in I mean, I never actually saw it in action in the NES days, so I wasn't aware of it back when I had an NES. But during the Super Nintendo days, I remember seeing Super Metroid and going like, whoa, what is this game? This looks really cool. And it looks like a really awesome sci-fi game. Mm-hmm. But of course, what did I wind up getting into instead? I wind up getting into all the role-playing games like Final Fantasy and Chrono Trigger and all those really lengthy ones that, you know, took a lot of my time and attention. So Metroid got kind of like pushed aside, and it's like, all right, I'll check this out later, another time maybe. And, you know, 25 years later, I still haven't actually gotten around to playing it.
Are you going to?
I would like to. I mean, I noticed that you can get the first one on the first one and the second one for the Game Boy on the Virtual Console on the 3DS. So I have like $10 worth of credit. So I was thinking, maybe I should just dump like $4 and pick it up.
It's funny when I first got the Wii U, I got a used one first, and it actually came with a like the person had a copy of Super Metroid installed on it.
Oh,
and that was actually the first time I had played it.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, hey, this is pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's supposed to be like one of the better games on the system too. I mean, it's one of those games that, you know, when people make like, well, top like 20 Super Nintendo games, that's typically up there on that list.
I know. I've always heard, it's one of those franchises that's always really highly regarded.
Yeah.
But it's also like not played as much as it should be almost.
Yeah, and it's like you look at game like Nintendo's contemporary lineup now, and it's like actually I feel like they've almost completely dropped Metroid as a series.
Yeah, like they've after they made the 3 Metroid Prime games, which were supposedly like really, really good.
Yeah.
They went and made Other M, which was really, really okay.
Yeah. Well, that was supposed to be. I think that was made by Team Ninja, like the guys.
Yeah,
who
it was
did,
someone else, but after that, they never revisited it.
Yeah,
which is surprising, actually.
It is, and it's that's what always drew me to it, though, is like it had a super rich, like engrossing world.
Yeah,
like in Metroid Prime, part of the game is actually just like scanning like the planet.
Yeah, it's all about exploration. It's not. It's hardly about combat. Yeah, you shoot things, but if you remember in the game, this is only from what I've read. I can't go on off experience with this,
right?
But it's all auto targeting.
Yeah,
and so that kind of just it like takes away the shooting element of like needing to aim.
Yeah. It's not like a Contra game where you're just running and shooting everything and
it's
ignoring
like it's
everything
not
else.
The game is not about, at least in Metroid Prime, it's not about combat as much as it is about exploration.
Yeah.
Being immersed in this world.
Yeah, and for a first person shooter too, it's super
a
different.
first person adventure.
Yeah, first person adventure. I like that. That's kind of what drew me to the original Unreal game, like not Unreal Tournament, which is like,
there was an Unreal, just
Unreal
plain
itself.
Unreal.
Yeah, it was.
I did not know
it was
that.
Much like that. It was a first-person shooter, but it had like a story, and you were meant to like explore the world. It wasn't so much about like just running and killing other people. You had to do that, but you still also had to like complete objectives and experience the story, which was pretty great. But yeah, that would be one of my biggest white whales of gaming is Metroid, the entire series,
the entire thing. It's out there.
Yeah.
Go off and go fish for it.
It's a big fish.
All right, number 3 or number 2. My number 2.
Joey's number 2.
My number 2 it's a little bit different.
Okay.
Kind of like Metroid, it's not a single game. But it's also not a single game franchise either.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
So mine is actually my second one. It comes in the form of a compilation, and so this is actually I'm not sure how many people even know about these things, but back in the 90s, my family would always go to like these discount computer stores, and we would just shop around for like cheap games because one of the first things first gaming machines that I had was a PC.
Oh, okay.
And if you remember a lot of the old MS-DOS days and
running
things off of a floppy drive.
Floppy disks, yeah.
Yeah, that was my jam. Like I loved going into those stores and just there was so much shovelware everywhere. It was amazing. I loved it.
Yeah.
And one of the series that we always bought into was called 101 of the best games. Or I'm sorry, 101 only the best games.
Only the best games.
Only the best games. And it was complete with like Asian typing, like capital and then a lowercase and then another capital and lowercase.
Oh my God. So wait, were they like bootleg kind of games?
They weren't bootleg, but it was 101 or at least 101 of the best games. And they were all demos.
Oh, so they weren't even like complete
They
games.
weren't full games. It's basically just like a sampler pack.
What the hell, man?
And what?
No,
this is okay. These aren't the only games I've played.
Okay,
it's just one of the main series, quote unquote, if you can call it that I used to like. And in those compilations, they do have some big names like Street Fighter.
Oh,
that might be the only one.
For the DOS? What the?
Yeah.
Oh.
Actually, there was. Yeah.
Okay.
But most of them were like these really, really small games that a lot of them, they never continued. They weren't part of these big franchises.
Oh, okay.
A lot of them were just like a single game, and this was the only time I had ever heard of them. And so technically, these games aren't really lost to me. Mm-hmm. I did play them back when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I still have the CD-ROM at my parents' house.
Oh,
so it's not like I can't find it anymore.
Yeah, you can go dig it out at some point.
Yeah, but these games are on this list because they only exist to me as demos. Mm-hmm. Like I've never played the full version of almost all the games that I'm talking about. They're just kind of like these tiny little blips of like gaming bliss.
Yeah,
because all these games, like or certain ones, they have a very distinct memory, like ingrained into the back of my head, that I would always think about when I would think about like shooters, for example. These compilations had a bunch of them, and I would play those a lot, and it would be like a very distinct style that I would remember from these.
Yeah, you remember it from the demo, right?
Yeah.
So you'd be playing like a game, and then you recall like, oh right, there was that game back on those 101 only the best games. That was a lot like this. It's kind of funny how that works too. It reminds me a lot of like, you know, like back in the days when you would get your first computer, like with Windows 95 or whatever on it, and it would come with all these games that were installed on it already, like, you know, like that old Astro pinball game or whatever. And it's like I can still recall a lot of the sound effects and stuff from that too.
That's one of the things I've been meaning to do, kind of going back and looking up all these MS-DOS games, because those ones are really, really like. Okay, I'm not gonna say fun, because I can't. My mind is not in the right place to say that.
But to you, they're memorable, though.
Yeah, they're memorable. Yeah. Nostalgic.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
That's a better word for it. Yeah.
That's what this whole podcast is about.
Right. You're nostalgic for those kind of games.
Yeah. And especially for the 101 only the best games, you know, individually, I have a very hard time remembering any of them, like the names of them especially.
Right.
I just know them as a whole. Like, they were just part of this compilation that it's like this huge bubble that they all exist in.
Yeah. Like you don't know how they exist outside of that.
Yeah, to me they don't.
Yeah.
They only exist in demo form.
Man, that could be like a whole series upon itself. All right, let's go get one of these copies of 101 only the best games, and then we'll find each game individually, the full game.
I was just going to say play them all, but sure. But no, okay, I do remember some of them. One of my favorite ones was Battle Cheese.
Battle Cheese?
It was basically like Risk, but with cheese.
Oh.
Moving on.
Yeah.
There was Flight of the Amazon Queen, which actually is pretty. I feel like it's a well-known game.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds familiar to me.
That one, and then the other one I used to play a lot was Cannon Fodder.
Cannon Fodder?
Do you remember that?
I don't remember that as a game. I remember it as a Magic card, or I might be thinking of Dragon Fodder.
Okay.
Can you describe it to me?
It's difficult. It's kind of like an action top-down strategy game where you control like a group of units and you go around shooting the crap out of things, and then it's like war. Okay.
So they seem like pretty simple games. Simple games.
Most of them are. You know, they're not really as much as you can fit into a demo in 1996 or something like that.
Right. And I guess it's like you get a lot of variety out of it too, because they have all these different genres of games, and then you could kind of like play each of them for like, it gives, a couple minutes and then move on to the next thing.
Yeah, like especially I feel like this was especially important at the time.
Right.
Because this is around the time when people are still discovering like kind of what they like in games, especially people like our age.
Yeah.
And what better way to discover what you like than went through 101 different games?
Yeah.
All these demos.
You get to go through each game, and then you figure out like, well, I like to play this one a lot. So, and it's like, well, then that must be the kind of game that you like.
This is what you like.
Yeah. You don't see that a whole lot these days, despite the fact that I think that people's attention spans these days would probably, be more in line with that sort of thing.
True. But people want full games nowadays.
Of course. People would probably complain that it's like, what do you mean I got to pay money for something like this?
Well, then it's basically the same thing as DLC.
Yeah.
Pay for an unfinished game. Moving on.
All right. Well, that was Joey's number 2. So I guess we'll go on to my number 2. So my second White Whale, it's kind of similar in a respect that it's not just a single game. I picked one game to kind of be the focal point of this series of games, but I guess I'll start out with what it is. So my second pick would be Xenosaga Episode 1 for the PlayStation 2.
Okay.
Basically, this game in particular, so I have owned this game for a long time, probably like over a decade now, because it came out probably around like 2002, 2003. Came out like sometime right before I left to go to college. And I got it like not that long after it came out. I remember that specifically. And yeah, but it's just like I've never finished it, first of all, even though it's part of a trilogy. And I've restarted that game probably like 3 or 4 times over the course of this last 10 years.
Just trying to kickstart something to get you to play it.
I mean, that's the thing, is because I would get to a point that was like somewhat far into the game, but not so far that I was like, well, I might as well just pick it up from here instead of spending like however many hours restarting it. It was maybe maybe only like 3 or 4 hours in, but you figure that I've done that now like 4 times. That's like 12 hours worth
of nothing.
Of nothing, really, yeah. And that's the thing. It's like the thing about it though is it's such a long game, and it plays very slow, like a lot of RPGs from that era.
If you were to ask me, I would just say skip all the cutscenes. Just get to the action.
Of course, you would say that because you hate RPGs. But yeah, I mean, the thing about it too is it's like I love that series, and I love the world building, and I love it's so engrossing. They do such a great job because there are very few sci-fi role-playing games, especially back then. This was before Mass Effect and before Knights of the Old Republic and all of those games that really kind of took that sci-fi element and did it justice. And it was very hard to find games like that were from Japan in particular. And Xenosaga, I think, did probably one of the best jobs of portraying sci-fi and doing it really well. I mean, it almost felt like a Stanley Kubrick style kind of sci-fi movie almost, with anime.
Anime.
I'm
sorry, I don't have I don't have last week's audio clip queued up right now.
Good.
I wish I did.
Good. I threw you for a loop there. So the reason why I picked Xenosaga Episode 1 is it pretty much it stands among all the other PS2 JRPGs that I actually never finished, mainly because this is a point in my life where my priorities started shifting. I went to college, and I just didn't have as much time to play these 60 to 80 hour RPGs and everything. It's you just cannot spend that much time on it in college. At least I didn't, because I was kind of an okay student, and I actually cared about my classes. But yeah, it was just indicative of that period of time in my life. And there are a lot of and I was saying that it this whole White Whale section for me encompasses a lot of other games. So basically, if you could blanket them under one section, it would be
I'll allow it. Go ahead.
It would be PlayStation 2 era Japanese RPGs, because I have a lot of them, none of which I have finished, at least that I've bought at that time. I beat Persona 3 and 4, but that was way later after.
Well, Final Fantasy X.
I did beat that, actually. That might have been the only one I beat.
I don't think anyone has not beaten that game.
Yeah, because it was really good. I mean, I hated it the first time around, but I gave it another chance in college.
Even I played that.
Yeah.
I played that for 118 hours.
Jeez, you played more than I have.
That was my first PS2 game. I'm proud to say that.
Oh, man. Joey actually liking an RPG. Imagine that. But yeah, I think for the other examples that go under this section would be definitely Star Ocean 3, Star Ocean Till the End of Time, which was a big game at that time. At that point in time, I love Star Ocean. I actually was gonna do a whole big thing for that for our other channel, Sakaya, because I love Star Ocean. But
we still can.
Yeah, we still can. Wild Arms 3. Wild Arms was another RPG series that I really loved on the PS1, and the PS2 game for it was really good, but I got to a point, stopped playing it. Radiata Stories was another one that was made by Tri-Ace, who also did Star Ocean. Dark Cloud, which was the first RPG to come out for the PS2. I
remember that.
I bought that very close to the time it was released, and I still never beat it. Actually, it's on the PS4 now, I think, too. You can go download it off the PSN, and they've actually added trophy support, HD graphics, and everything.
Does that make you want to play it now?
Not really, but I would still like to go pick it back up for the PS2, surprisingly. And probably the biggest, the second biggest game on the PS2 that I never finished was Final Fantasy 12. And I spent a lot of time in that game. I think my file is up to 80 hours already, and I just never finished it because there was so much to do in it. And it's just so different from every Final Fantasy game that came before it that it's kind of hard to it's kind of hard to go back to it and play it now, because the battle system is so incredibly different, and you kind of have to really devote a lot of time to learning how to utilize it, because it was one of those games that it almost played itself in a way.
You just hit start and like let it run.
Yeah, but I mean, oh man, I would like
this
to go...
This is a lot of white whales.
It is a lot of white whales.
What's a group of whales called? It's a pod.
A pod.
A whole pod of whales.
A whole pod of white whales, yeah. And I mean, going back to Xenosaga in particular, it's like, man, the fact that it's a trilogy too is like, that's what also keeps pushing me from going back and finishing just the first one, because I think to myself,
invest another 20 hours or more each.
Yeah, for each
installment.
I have the second one already, but I don't have the third one in the trilogy, and that would probably also involve me going out and buying a copy off of eBay for probably another $60 to $70 for a complete copy of it, if even that cheap. And yeah, I mean, if for people that have actually played Xenosaga 2, it's like supposedly it's connected. The whole trilogy is connected to Xenogears for the PS1, which was another really good Squaresoft RPG.
I always remember hearing about the Xenoblank series.
Yeah. And you remember, actually, when we went to Lake Tahoe last year, we took a vacation up there.
And you found, what was...
I found Xenogears.
Oh, was it the original?
It was a complete copy of Xenogears, a black label copy, and I bought it for like, $40, and I haven't actually played it yet.
Well, I mean, when you get something like that, it's more for the collectability, I think.
And collecting retro games, I think that's a topic we can talk about for another time too, because that's something I've been kind of like stepping into and back out of there's a lot of investment
that goes into that.
Yeah.
I'm fine with just doing that casually, just thinking about the ones that I do like and ignoring the rest.
Yeah, exactly. And Xenoblade Chronicle, going back to Xenosaga again, Xenoblade Chronicles, actually, there's 2 games in that series now that's on the Wii and the new Nintendo 3DS. So those are games too that, I mean, I'm probably never going to play those because...
Which ones are those?
Xenoblade Chronicles.
Oh, and Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are supposed to be really, really nice games.
Yeah, those are supposed to be spiritual successors to the Xenosaga trilogy, because originally, when they announced this Xenosaga, they wanted to make it 8 games long. So after the 3rd game, they realized people aren't buying these so much now because they weren't as invested in the first one, and, of course,
might as well do something different.
Yeah, so let's make it a trilogy, and we'll stop here, and then we'll do another project. So... yeah, that's a series that, that's a game, unlike the first one, it's a game I own. I own 2 out of 3, and I've just never finished them. I've never gone back to them. But I have the opportunity to. It's just a matter of, willing myself to do that.
I'm glad you have reasons for this.
Yeah.
Because for mine, I do not. My last one, I'd have no reason for ever not finishing it.
Yeah. Well, you just said... Oh, you mean for your next
for my
game.
last one,
for your next game. Okay, let's move on to Joey's 3rd game here. So what's your 3rd white whale of this session?
My 3rd and final one is The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
Oh, that's such a great game.
You don't need to tell me that, okay?
Yeah.
I know.
I'm going to tell you that again, though. It's a great game.
This is truly the white whale, the whitest of whales.
No, let's not point colors here.
Did you say point colors? I'm writing that down. Willisms. So Ocarina of Time. This is a game that, according to Will, is really, really good.
Mm-hmm. You heard it here.
I've played it pretty much since it came out on the N64.
You have a copy of it, don't you?
I have a copy of it. I have the original. Actually, you know what? I'm not sure if I have the original N64 copy.
Oh, okay.
But I have 2 boxes of them. I'm not sure where they came from.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking to myself, don't you have Ocarina of Time? It's like, you have it on the 64, I think.
I cannot tell you that if I do or not. But I've played it on the N64.
Mm-hmm.
I played it 2 different versions on the GameCube. I've played it on emulator. I've played it. Actually, it hasn't been released anywhere else. Oh, the 3DS.
Did you?
Do
you have
I
it on
will
3DS?
probably get a copy of it because Chia wants to try it out on 3DS.
Yeah. Well, it's a good time to get it. They actually just re-released it under the Nintendo Selects label.
Yeah, so it's
actually
cheaper.
cheaper now. It's like $20.
See, all those years I've played it, but never once have I ever beaten it.
I mean, at least you played it.
I have played it, but the closest I've ever gotten to beating it was when I rented it back in 1999, and the file that was already on the cartridge was was, I think, maybe about like 3/4 of the way through the game. And, like adult Link was already there.
So
there were zombies walking around.
somebody?
Just wondering what's going on in this game. But I was just I decided to try it out anyway, and I was just like, okay.
You just like played somebody else's like unfinished, almost finished file.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So that's like, yeah, there's a lot I have not experienced in this game yet.
Yeah.
I've probably only gone through like maybe half of the dungeons. I've never gotten through the. Actually, I might have beaten the fire temple. I've never gone through the water temple.
Oh, okay,
but I don't know what's beyond that even.
Yeah, I mean there's a couple more temples after that. I think there's like 8 total dungeons, like most Zelda games.
I think I might have gone through like 3 at most. I've never
Well,
gotten through the water temple. I've never gotten like light arrows. I don't know what they do or what they are.
Okay.
I've never gotten the hover boots.
I
never
don't know
beaten
if that one's in Ocarina.
No, it is.
The hover
Pretty
boots?
sure I've seen it used before, right?
It's been a while since I played that game because I beat it on the N64 like right away, and then I haven't really played it since.
Oh yeah, sure. Rub it in.
I probably beat it before you ever played it.
That's true.
Because I was one of those kids that like, you know, I ran to EB Games like to pre-order that the minute I saw it, and then I got the gold cartridge. So
yeah, I think that was actually one of the most pre-ordered games.
Oh yeah,
at
dude.
least it maybe I'm not sure how long that record lasted for, but at the time it was number one, and it stayed that way for years.
Because everybody knew, like at that point, like if you got the first run copy of that game, you got the gold cartridge. Because that's
what everyone wanted.
Yeah, because that was a thing all the way back, even when the first Legend of Zelda was released, which is like now like 30 years ago now in Japan. That was like a thing where like you got the first run copy, it was a gold cartridge, so it's highly collectible still.
Is the Donkey Kong Country 64 banana cartridge still valuable?
Probably not.
Oh,
because it's Donkey Kong 64. Not to knock on it too bad, but
it's pretty bad.
Oh, okay.
But we're not talking about that. We are talking about Zelda and how I've actually never beaten. I think I might have mentioned this before on the show, but I've never beaten a single Zelda game before. I don't know. There's something about the series, like all Zelda games in general. There's something that keeps me from finishing them, and I can't quite put my finger on it.
Yeah, maybe it's because you don't have somebody like me to keep pushing you to do it.
I mean, I guess, and it's not that I don't have patience. You know, I'll gladly sit down with I've sat down with other games. Like I said, I've sat down with Final Fantasy X for 100+ hours.
Yeah, really.
Like,
and that's got way more like actual like story and cutscene stuff than Zelda has. Like I think across all of its games.
Yeah, and for the N64 at least, you know, I've beaten Paper Mario several times.
Oh yeah,
and it's like 20+ hours isn't really that big of a deal to me.
Yeah,
but there's something about Zelda in which I've never been able to like push myself to finish, and I can't really explain it. I guess that's what makes it my whitest of whales here.
Yeah, because there's also like that unexplainability. You can't pinpoint what exactly it is that makes you not want to finish it. Or not like finish it in general.
Like I've wanted to. I've started it up like several times in the last couple years. I just can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, even for me, like I'm like even right now, I think we talked about it last week how I've been playing a lot of Majora's Mask lately on my 3DS, and that was a game that I just didn't like when I first played it on the N64, and now that I'm playing it as an adult, yeah, it's like it takes a little bit of pushing past like the things that I disliked about it in order to get myself to finish it. But I think once you can get past that certain point, you know,
I think it's to me, it's not so much that I disliked it as a kid, and I still dislike it, and I'm trying to get past that. I played it throughout all those years, and something about it just never stuck with me. Even though I recognized that it was a really good game, I knew that it was like highly regarded as the best game of its generation, and maybe of this entire gaming era from the last 30 years up until now.
Yeah, it definitely is probably up there in that top. If you had to make a top like 10 list, it would probably occupy one of those spots.
No, ask anyone, they'll give it number one, but I can't do it.
Well, hopefully third time's a charm here on the 3DS if you pick up a copy for cheap.
Yeah, I could try, but I am hoping that someday within this next year I might be able to finish it.
Maybe if we do a let's play of it for the channel, it'll convince you to finish it because I'm just not going to let you stop playing it. You know,
we're gonna reserve just 20 hours worth.
Yeah.
From like 8 a.m. till wherever,
God.
whatever time. We're not gonna stop.
One sitting. No, that's even too much for me. I think I wouldn't even want to sit down and play Ocarina of Time for 20 hours straight because it is like. To me, you know, it does show its age a little bit now, but that's also coming from somebody who's like, you know, I beat it like a long time ago. It's been what? It's almost 2 more years. It's going to be 20 years old.
Yeah, 20 years. Maybe I'll wait until 2018.
The 20th anniversary. Yeah, that'll be
20th anniversary. Then
get its like 20th anniversary re-release on like the Nintendo NX or whatever their next console.
You know they're going to do that, right?
I'm sure they will. They've done how many Zelda games have they re-released now for their contemporary systems? You know, including Ocarina of Time. So it'll be there.
The white whale.
The mystical white whale. All right, well, we're gonna wrap this up with my third game, my final game of this session here. The last game, it's kind of a funny game because it's
Oh wait,
thank you. You weren't supposed to laugh yet, but it's kind of funny in the sense that it's actually it was something that sort of similar to what you were saying about like how you played it before, like a demo. You played demos and stuff before.
Mm-hmm.
So back in the days, I used to get what was it? PSM, the PlayStation magazine.
Yeah,
that was the one that came with like the demo discs with every magazine. They were demo discs that you would play on your PlayStation 1.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the days, and they typically had like playable demos and videos of all of like the cool games and everything. And one of the demos that I played, it always stuck with me because it was probably the only demo that I played over and over, and I would finish it and then I would play it again because it was so fun from like those 20 minutes that you'd get from it. And that game was
and drum roll,
Tomba. With an exclamation mark. Tomba. Do you remember that game?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say something that was like, I don't know, a little bit higher, more highly regarded.
Hell no. I'm talking about Tomba. So, in case you don't know what Tomba is, and most of you probably don't because apparently this game is extremely rare, it's kind of like this, like an action platforming game, like a 2D platformer with a little bit of 3D elements to it. There's a little bit of like moving back and forth into the foreground and background, kind of like a Little Big Planet today is a lot like that. But what's cool about it too is it has a lot of RPG elements, which, you know, if you know me and RPGs, I love RPGs. So
Will loves RPGs.
You know, I love my RPG elements in any kind of game. So yeah, Tomba had all these RPG elements where killing enemies would grant you experience and you would level up your character and, you know, get like bonus stats and everything, like increase your strength, increase your jumping height and everything like that. But it was just, it was a very silly game because you're running around as this like mostly naked caveman with pink hair, and he wore like a grass loincloth. And the major antagonists were these anthropomorphic pigmen. And I'm not really sure what exactly the story was like, but I gathered from the intro movie that the pigs, they stole Tomba's like bracelet or whatever, and I guess it has some sort of a power because, you know, and it's sentimental to him, so he goes to get it back. And that's as much as I know about what the game is about. Mostly what I liked about it was very colorful and very like lighthearted looking, and it had so much to do because even though it was like a two-dimensional like side scroller, it was a very big world. It was kind of like a Metroidvania kind of game where you'd explore the world.
Yeah, but you only got to see so much of that in the demo at least. Like how long was it anyway?
It was maybe only about like 15 or 20 minutes. You know,
good lord, how would you even know that it was because like Metroidvania style?
You get to see the map and you get to see how you get a sense of how big it is and
that's how they pull you in.
Exactly. You see how much more there is to the
not
game.
Tell.
And you'd only get a little bite-sized chunk, and then you're like, I want a bigger slice. I want a bigger slice of the pie. I don't just want this little tip.
Stop it. No, you know? No more pie.
Exactly. And you know, it's funny because I talk about it now like with such with
such great feeling towards it,
such
I'm sure.
Fondness, I guess is a good word. I speak about it very fondly. And yet back in those days, for some reason, it never occurred to me to go out and buy this game. I never bought this game. And honestly, I am actually kicking myself for that because if you go on eBay and you look up how much that game is and how much the sequel, which is even more rare, how much those games cost, you're talking well over $100 for a complete, in-box copy of this game. And, oh, man, it's like I could kick myself for never buying that as a kid. It's like the sequel's supposedly not that great, but it's just as expensive, if not more so, I think.
There's a sealed copy on eBay for $270.
Yeah. No, thanks. I mean, it's one of those cases where it's like, I just cannot justify spending so much money on an old game despite how much that I've wanted to play it over the years, Maybe someday if I make, if I'm making more money that I can afford to throw around a little bit more money, I will bite the bullet and buy a copy of it for a special occasion. But for me, the reason why it is a white whale and it stays a white whale is because it's a game I've always just wanted to play so bad because I played the demo of it. But I've just never bought a copy. And now it's at that point where it's like, you know what? It's too expensive now to buy a copy of it because it's so rare.
Well, as far as white whales go, it's just as much about being able to play as it is about owning it.
Yeah,
right?
But I want it. I want a copy of it. That's the thing,
You want to spear that whale.
I don't just want to like boot up an emulator and play it. I want to fucking own a copy of this game. Because it's like it's one game that it's just like it's also part of that collecting aspect of it. It's about owning something that is rare. Even if people didn't really like it that much or didn't play it very much, It's just like that whole aspect of owning it. And that's what I want too. It's like I want to have a copy of it.
I want that.
I want that.
I want to get that. Speaking of rare, apparently one of the games that I own, and I own like a complete copy with the box and everything, is Worms Armageddon. I was just thinking about this the other day. I was wondering why this game is so much, or people are paying so much in order to get it.
Wait, people are paying a lot of money for that?
Yeah, go on eBay and you'll see like just copies of the cartridge itself going for like $200.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I was like, what? When?
Why is it?
When did this happen?
Is it hella rare or something?
Apparently, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
So yay me.
Yeah, you sitting. I think you're sitting on a couple of rare games actually. Like I remember,
I moved my box out of here, but yeah, I have a bunch of like just complete in-box games.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that if you ever wanted to flip those games, like you just decided, like, all right, I don't need these anymore.
I used to have Conker's Bad Fur Day. I actually bought that game when our Toys R Us nearby from here was closing for like $5.
Nice.
And then I sold it for $60.
Yeah. It was the same for me.
I feel like I could have gotten more if I had kept it.
Probably. I mean, maybe now, but it's like, with a lot of these games, obviously, like the more time goes on and the rarer they get, then
I think especially now, like since the whole 90s thing is coming back, like people are appreciating the N64 a lot more.
Oh yeah, by far. I mean, I remember like flipping Harvest Moon 64. I think actually, I mean, I love that game. Don't get me wrong, but when I sold all my N64 stuff, I probably got more money for Harvest Moon 64 than I paid for it. And it was still like brand new and in the box and everything. So
I got it for $5.
I remember that
from Goodwill. It wasn't complete. It wasn't new, but
hey, that cartridge alone is still worth more than you
actually.
paid.
If I hadn't bought that, I might have included that on this list.
Oh, really?
For White Whales, because I've always loved the Harvest Moon series. Like I played the Game Boy ones like to death. And I always remember like in all the Nintendo Power magazines, I always remember reading about it.
Yeah. Oh, man.
It was so much fun. Like, I want all the stuff they're doing.
That's why I got into it too, because of all the Nintendo Power articles. They made it seem like, despite the fact it was a farming simulation, they made it sound really fun.
Yeah.
And it was. They renamed the Harvest Moon series now.
What?
In contemporary games. Now it's called Story of Seasons. That's the series name because they no longer either, I don't know, something with the license or whatever, but yeah, now it's called Story of Seasons, but they still make the games just under a different name.
It doesn't feel the same anymore.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Are we done?
Well, I don't know, man.
Is that the last one?
Did you have any? Do we have any honorable mentions that you wanted to?
I have none. I thought you said you had some.
I have a couple actually. Because this was a topic I was debating. I was toying with for quite a while. I had a couple that were on my list, but
let's hear them.
Let's see. One of my honorable mentions was Bayonetta. for the PS3, mainly because I bought it a long time ago for $10 because it was on sale on Amazon for really cheap, and I played the demo at one point because it was and it was really fun. I have not even taken that out of the case.
Since you bought it?
Since I bought it.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say you haven't taken it since you played it once and put it back.
I have not even taken it out of the case. Reason being was also because I put it on the backlog for a while, and once we started doing all the Sick Aya recording a couple of years ago, I actually wanted to save it for a blind playthrough of it. I was gonna either play with Leslie or Jer or something, and
well, not me.
I don't know. It didn't.
I like Bayonetta.
It didn't seem like your kind of game at the time. I don't know, but maybe now
it's a freaking shooting game, and you do crazy stuff.
It's like Devil May Cry with a sexy witch whose outfit is made of hair.
That's fine.
So maybe we could play it now, because I still have it and I still never played it. So that was one of my honorable mentions. Another one that's very similar was the Ico and the Shadow of the Colossus collection.
Oh wait. The collection or the games themselves?
A little bit of both.
Are you going to tell me that you've never played Shadow of the Colossus?
I have played it for about 20 minutes on the PS3.
Okay. Did you even get to a Colossus at all?
No.
Okay. Then you can't say that you have played the game.
Yeah. I played more of Ico than anything because I own that on the PS2 and I played through a couple of hours of it. And I played a little bit of the PS3 version just to see how the graphics are and just to see what they changed about it. But for the most part, I've never finished either of those games, and I always actually I feel like I've talked to Joss a lot about it, about how great those games are, and yet when I go back and I'm like, I've never actually played through them, especially Shadow of the Colossus. It's one of those games that like you said with Ocarina of Time, everybody's talked about how great they are and how highly regarded, but yet for some reason it's just I played 20 minutes of it, and that was kind of enough at the time for me. It's still sitting on my backlog, and it's I've always wanted to play it. And I bought it last year, I think, for my birthday for $20, and I just didn't play much of it this past
I'd say
year.
you just need to get to that first Colossus. That's what's going to hook you.
Yeah,
more than
that
anything
probably
else.
is the motivation,
I mean, I've honestly I've never beaten it, but I've gotten fairly far.
Yeah,
and each one of the Colossi, they're going to be different from the other, and it's really good. Just you gotta do it.
all right then, man. Well, I'll do it. I had one more honorable mention. This was originally gonna be in my third slot actually, instead of Tomba, until I thought of Tomba. But Final Fantasy IV of all of them. So I have played.
Okay, you're gonna have to refresh my memory because I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
Why this is
so
significant.
Final Fantasy IV originally was released on the Super Nintendo as Final Fantasy II.
Yes,
as 2. It's one of the better known entries in the series. A lot of people who really love Final Fantasy games, especially they're like, oh yeah, the Super Nintendo one's 6 is so good and 7's so good. 4 is typically up there as well. And Johnny, our friend Johnny in particular, really loves Final Fantasy IV. He always would he would always try to sell me on the story and everything, and how cool the story is and how great the characters are, because a lot of it was they didn't have a job system like some of the other games where you can change the class of each of the characters and make them more unique. Every character had a defined class, but every character was also very well written and very well developed, and it had a really great story too, from what I understand. And in terms of the story alone, it's one of the better Final Fantasy games in the series. So and you would think that because I like RPGs so much and because I love the Japanese RPGs and Final Fantasy in particular, I would have played the crap out of that game. Mm-hmm. But didn't pick it up for the Super Nintendo, never picked it up for the PlayStation 1 when they put it on I think they put it on Final Fantasy Chronicles along with Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, I remember those.
I didn't pick up that anthology because Chrono Trigger on that system actually really sucked because of the battle system.
Did you ever get it?
No, I still don't have it because
now you probably can, and now it's probably worth lots and lots of money.
No, it's not, because the loading times on that game are.
It doesn't matter
garbage.
about loading times.
You can't even
it's about
play it.
The game. It's about owning it.
Yeah, but anyway, I didn't own it on the PS1. I didn't have a Nintendo DS originally, so I didn't get it on the DS. But I now own a complete collection of it on the PSP, which was like kind of the definitive release for it. So they released it on the PSP. It was basically the DS version of it, but they also added like the sequel game that they made for it. So it's the complete package. And it's another game I've never touched since I bought it. So.
Final Fantasy 2. 4.
4.
Sorry. Did you know that I have Final Fantasy 2?
The cartridge?
Yes.
Oh, really?
For Super Nintendo. I have it.
Yeah? You still want that?
Yeah.
Just thought I'd try that.
I'm not going to play it
with an audience listening in on that, but
yeah, I have 2. I had 3 and I gave it away to a friend.
Oh, I have that one.
And then I bought all 3 of these games. I bought GameStop, or I think it might have been EB at the time.
EB Games, yeah.
It was like a 3 for 2 deal. Like buy 2 get 1 free, and I got Final Fantasy 2, 3, and also Link to the Past. All at the same time.
God damn. All heavy hitters.
All 3 of those games I've never finished or even played.
Yeah, I know. I think Johnny was saying that he borrowed Link to the Past from you, and he was probably got like farther than you did in that game.
Well, all you have to do is like get through the first dungeon, and then
did you not beat it past that?
No.
I might have played more than that game than you did, and I have never beaten Link to the Past also. Interesting. Well,
another white whale, a little baby white whale.
Baby whale, yeah. You got Ocarina of Time as the big whale, and then the baby whale, Link to the Past, right there.
Yeah, and then one of the
and then every other Zelda game trailing along behind it,
as like the bastard stepchildren.
Yeah, we ought to actually just make you play the first Zelda game, because that is like hard as hell, man.
Well, no, I will not do that.
There's like no story whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't really. As great as it may have been at the time, I have no desire to play the first Zelda. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Don't apologize to me. Apologize to all people out there that are like raising up their pitchforks about to.
Well, too bad.
Burn you with the stake.
Yeah, you came here for nostalgia, and this is what you get.
Just more complaining, more whining.
Are we done?
I think we're done.
I think we're done now. All right.
We're done now. That's it. So you've gotten the 6 from between you and me, and then another 3 honorable mentions. But hey, you never know. We could turn this into a series. I think there's way more games. Like I said, way more games out there. I think that we've just never gotten around.
Yeah,
to
I'm sure.
finishing.
No, they're definitely like. I didn't even think about Shadow of the Colossus because I've never beaten it, but it's a game that I really, really love.
Yeah, exactly. So why not go back and beat it?
That's a good question because I have no time.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to create reasons.
Exactly, that's the big
Not
thing.
unlike you with your with school, right?
Yeah. Well, nowadays, now you can argue that we have way more reasons for never finishing games, like much less time overall.
It's sad.
We
When
make time-
when you're a kid, you think, when I grow up, I'm gonna play all the video games I want.
Yeah.
And then you grow up, and
You
then
get to this age, and you're like, well, maybe when I retire, I will play all the games I bought.
What
over the
went
years.
wrong? I wish I was a kid so I could play video games all the time.
Yeah, really. No, I mean, well, that's true. That right there is a thought in itself. It's like you grow up and you realize you don't have any time to play all these games that you've bought over the years, and then of course it's like you build such a big backlog, and then you just, what's the next step? Maybe when I retire.
Oh well.
Well, we'll get back to you guys in another like 40 years with that, whether or not we're actually getting around to all that.
Are we done? I'm just gonna keep asking that until we're
Yeah.
actually done.
Yeah, I think that's good there, man.
Okay, we're moving on to our final round
Our final round.
and what we're going to be doing for this upcoming week.
So what are you gonna be
Silence.
doing?
Oh, okay.
I just like to hear what you say because your answers are interesting to me.
Well, by the time that people get around to listening to this podcast, I will have gone to and then also come back from Emerald City Comic Con, which I mentioned last week.
Yeah.
And it's gonna. Well, okay. Since I will be back by this time, I will say this in retrospect. Oh man, it was so great. It was amazing. It was big. There was lots of people.
Oh my God.
There was a lot of emeralds.
A lot of emeralds. Oh my goodness.
There was a lot of comic.
And cons.
There was a lot of cons.
Well,
Wow.
I hope you had a good time
Wow.
there, Joey. I hope your time there was very well spent. What I didn't know even before us sitting down and record today was that it was a 4-day event. I thought you were just road tripping.
It was 4 days. It was so tiring.
I bet you.
I had so much time.
So much fun telling people that came to the booth that you were not the artist.
I had emeralds.
You'll probably have fun going up to the original Starbucks or something like that. Go check out Pike's Place Market.
Yeah, it was fun doing all that, like you said.
Yeah.
All right, go. Just please go and end this for us.
I don't even know what I'm going to be doing the next week while you're gone. I'm going to be sad that you're not here. Although no, I'll be fine. I'll get along fine this weekend. That means I got a free weekend to
not spend with me.
Not spend with you here in this sweltering warm closet. But no, I mean, like I said, I've been playing Majora's Mask lately. But God, one thing I really want to do finish up this week. I really want to finish Daredevil season 1 because of all the new stuff that's on Netflix. Like Daredevil season 2 is on Netflix now. Bob's Burgers season 5 is on Netflix now, so me and Joss might check that out. Joss and I also started watching Jessica Jones the other day too.
Oh, the Marvel series.
Yeah, we watched the first episode of that. She finally got around to seeing the Incredible Hulk.
Like the Edward Norton one?
Yeah, because that was the only Phase 1 movie of like Marvel's MCU Phase 1 that she had not seen.
It's the only one that people that I feel like is okay not to see.
Yeah, because
first of all, they changed it over to Mark Ruffalo anyway, so it's like it didn't even happen.
And of course, Liv Taylor is like not in the movie at all, or not in the MCU at all. After that, she just doesn't exist anymore. They're like, yeah, Betty Ross is off doing something else, I suppose. So we'll hook you up with Black Widow instead.
Well, I mean, I don't think they'll ever do a standalone Hulk movie, at least for a while.
They talked about it.
They talked about it's not on the radar for the next like 5 years anyway.
Yeah, so probably not. By that time, it's like, well,
they have stuff planned out all the way to 2019, 2020 almost,
which is a little disappointing because Mark Ruffalo, he plays that character very well. I will say that, like, he plays it so much better than Edward Norton did.
Eric Bana,
he plays it much better than Eric Bana does because I have a much easier time believing that Mark Ruffalo is some scrawny little scientist than Edward Norton or Eric Bana. I think Eric Bana was just like too buff and too much of a pretty boy to play Bruce Banner, That would be I don't know, that would be like Chris Evans playing like Spider-Man, or like playing Peter Parker. Can you imagine him playing Peter Parker? It's like
no, can't imagine. Well, it's too buff.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he's too
much muscle.
Yeah. Although I don't know, I guess before Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, I didn't see Tobey Maguire playing Spider-Man.
I mean, he always had a very like a childish face, I guess. Or it's a very, I don't know how to explain it. It's,
very dopey look to him.
Yeah, I think that
dopey is a good adjective. I think
you fit pretty well.
Yeah.
Are we done?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Finally.
So yeah, that's probably what we'll be doing. So that'll be what that's what I'm gonna do, or what I did, I guess, while you were at Emerald City Comic Con. So, yeah, with that. That wraps up this episode here of RetroActive. Thanks again for continuing to listen to us go on and on about all these whales and games and marvels and emeralds. Weights? What?
Whites? The white whales?
Oh, I was going to say, we can talk about that if you want, but might be a little too politically charged.
The hell are you talking about?
Talking about the whites?
The whites.
Half of me is like, excuse me, mister?
All right, we are done. I'm not going to ask it anymore.
That's all right.
Thanks, guys, for listening. We'll be here next week again.
As usual.
Not sure what we're going to talk about yet, but we'll let you know.
And we don't want to give
when
it away.
We actually record it.
Yeah. So yeah, go check us out on YouTube, on iTunes, and Facebook, and we got an Instagram now.
Yeah, we do.
Do we have a Twitter yet?
We do. We don't use it, but we have it. It's there.
It's there. So yeah, links in the description box below if you're watching on YouTube. And yeah, thanks again for listening. We'll catch you next week.
All right. See you guys.
Later.